This story was told to me by Rabbi Mendel Futafas. We've told a lot about him. Talked a lot about him. Very interesting person. Anyway, so he told the story. Here's a picture of Rabbi Mendel Futafas, a drawing. Anyway, so he told me a story. And he said that when he was in Siberia, so the nights were very long, and they didn't want them to work in the nighttime because nighttime they could maybe make an escape. And not only that, there were a lot of accidents that happened. And when accidents would happen, they worked in the forest chopping wood. So accidents obviously would cut down their manpower. Whatever reasons it was, they didn't do work that much in the nighttime, in the winter nights, or they gave them work inside, whatever it was, but they had time to talk to one another. So they would pass the time away by telling stories. And I have a lot of stories to tell. I think I told you some of the stories, but I want to tell you one of them. And this is the story about the Bundists, the Bundist. In Russia, Jews were always, the Jews are a troublesome nation, very contentious, difficult nation. So there were a lot of movements, Jewish movements going on. It goes without saying communist movement, but there was also Bundist. Before the communists was what's called the Bundist. Bundists were more like socialists. Bund means like the group, the unification, Bund, like the bind, Bund. And they were like ardent socialists, bordering on, communists, these ideas. And but they were fervently anti-religion. Just one second. Just one second. Od Revasha and Moser Shiur. Od Revasha. So they were ardent, anti-Jew, anti-religion. They'd do anything. Eventually, this morphed big time into communism, and the communists, of course, killed all the Bundists. Okay, so Reb Mendel met a fellow that he said that he used to be a Bundist, and then he transformed to be a communist. There was a saying in Russia that if you were never a communist, you were never young. All the youth were inflamed with the vision of communism. It was going to take over the world. There was going to be equality. There was going to be brotherhood, and there was going to be friendship, and there was progress, all these wonderful sayings. Communism has the most wonderful sayings and promises and slogans than anything, maybe even from more than religion. Communism, perfect, utopia, everything, love and brotherhood and this and this. And with these wonderful ideas, they killed tens of millions of people. That never worked. Communism never worked anywhere. Okay, but that's outside the point. So Reb Mendel met an old fellow there that he was, and he told him like this. He said, when I was young, I was a Bundist. He said, I'm Jewish. He's Jewish. He hates the Torah. He hates religion. He hates religious people. For Reb Mendel, he had respect because he saw that he was a genuine, person. But nevertheless, he said when he was young, he was a Bundist. He hated the religious people, hated them. He said, now I became a communist. As soon as I became a communist, it didn't last long, and they threw me into prison. He was sitting in prison for something. They was suspected of who knows what. He said, now I'm finished with communism. He said, finished with communism. And maybe Zionism, but religion, no way. Hates religion. And he said to Reb Mendel, I want to give you a story. How much we hated the religious people. How much we hated them. And how much we hated Judaism as Bundists. He said, once we were walking down the street, and we were young. We were 15 years old, whatever. And a group of Bundists, we had just, heard a lecture, whatever. And we were walking now to work in a factory. The main thing was we're working. We're not lazy parasites. We're workers. So we went to, where did we work? We worked in a big a mill, where they ground wheat. That's where we worked. We were walking down the street. There was maybe 20 of us, and our leader. We're going to, and our leader suddenly looked across the street and he said, "Look what's there over the other side of the street." Who was there? According to Reb Mendel's story, he said it was the Ruziner Rav. The Ruziner Rav, if this is really the person, he was the one that wrote these books about the blue of tzitzis, that we found it today and etc. Okay, anyway, he brought. So the Ruziner Rav, he was a holy Jew, and he had his pupils with him, and they were they had long payas, and they were dressed in black, little kids. They were long payas. And the leader of these Bundists said, "Cook off the grace of Ferd and the clean of Ferd block." He said, look at the big horse and the little horses going after them, because they had these payas going. So it looked like, tails or something like that. And he said, we all laughed and we threw rocks at them. We hated the religious people so much. We threw rocks at them. And the leader of them, the Rebbe, the Ruziner Rebbe, and we were cursing them and screaming at them and throwing rocks at them. So the Ruziner Rebbe, I guess they were all ducking rocks. And he said to our leader, du willst misa mishina, mita mishuna. I see that you want a strange death, an unusual death. And we all heard it. And our leader said, misa mishina, a strange death. And he was throwing rocks and we went to the factory, and we started working. And all the time, they even made a song about it. Misa machine. Everyone said, strange death. We were laughing. And suddenly, as our leader, as he was speaking, somehow or other, we started this big mill. It was a big, huge grinder, huge thing. And the corner of his coat of the leader, it got caught in the mill. And it started dragging him into the mill. And he tried to take the coat off, but for some reason he couldn't. And it got caught, his finger caught, and it drew him into the mill, and it ground him up in front of our eyes. And we ran and we tried to turn the mill off, but the momentum, it was so big until the thing finally stopped, as our leader had been ground up totally, and there was blood everywhere, and he was screaming, and it was awful. We saw in front of our eyes a strange death, that this man cursed him, and he got a strange death, a stranger death than that you can't imagine. We saw this rabbi, a Jewish rabbi, he cursed him because we were doing bad to the rabbi, and we received bad on our own. We saw it clearly in our eyes. He said, you know what we did? He said, we cleaned up the place, and after 10 minutes, we were back to work like nothing happened. It had absolutely no effect on anybody. So that to that degree, did we hate Judaism and we hated Jews, we hated them, no effect on us whatsoever. Now, you think a normal person would say, hey, maybe, at least maybe we should leave the Jews alone. Maybe, no. So that's how callous we were to Judaism. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, the whole thing of Mashiach is to open up our hearts, to take away our hearts of stone and make them into hearts of flesh. We're sensitive to the truth, to the creator of the universe, and how kind he is to us, that he's creating us and he gave us his Torah. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, only blessings.